Rudy Giuliani is on Rob Schitt's show, and Mrs. Schitt is filling in, which I guess is adorable. And we'll see. Yeah, we'll see if. Luckily, I mean, she's in another room. He's apparently distracted on his phone at the top of this. He's got the red hanky square, which I think, if I understand Sound of Freedom enough, is a symbol of being a pedophile. He's got the pinky ring. That's symbol one. Red shoes is the other one, and of course, the red pocket square is that you're on the lookout for a toddler. I think. I'm only partially kidding. I don't. Oh, just what I like for dinner: gelatinous POS. Well, there's a lot of that going around. All right, so let's take a look, if we can, and I think we shall. This is Rudy Giuliani on Rob Schitt's show. This hold on, number up here. Think. There we go. We'll get this started. This is Giuliani on President Biden. He should have the dignity to resign, which is usually what you say when you're like, fuck, I'm never going to beat this guy. There's a bunch of, it's what they like during Trump's impeachment, where the only thing that was going to save him was if Republicans were willing to throw themselves under the bus for him, which of course they were. But saying that while that's happening, technically speaking, Trump, who's literally been indicted for possession of classified documents, should have the dignity to not run for president, but get the fuck out of here. Yeah. So here we go.
About Kevin McCarthy, this is a very strong statement from him. Do you think he'll actually go through with it and impeach President Biden?
No.
He better.
He better. Or what? What are you going to do? Sick Marjorie Taylor Greene on him?
I mean, the reality is he should be gone by now.
Mitch or McCarthy or Biden?
This country has been hurt enough by Joe Biden.
Yes, it's terrible. The infrastructure, the removal of lead pipes, the reshoring of factories, the genuine wage growth, the narrowing between racial groups, and the standard for unemployment, the lowest unemployment in 70 years. Yeah, I know, it's terrible. The stock market, have you seen it lately? It's like at 2 points.
Not a single person of Ukraine would have died.
Wait a minute. Why is there a child screaming in the background? This scares me. I just saw Sound of Freedom. It's terrifying. What? The
country has been hurt enough by Joe Biden. Not a single person of Ukraine would have died if Joe Biden hadn't been elected president.
That's right. The Russians attacked because they were so mad that Trump wasn't reelected. I'm sorry. We don't negotiate with terrorists. That's reason enough I think that's reason enough to not reelect Donald Trump, is because we do not negotiate with terrorists.
I mean, just think if you...
Okay, why has he got children in the background? This is creeping me out. Someone called Jim Caviezel.
Think about it.
Red pocket square, child screaming in the background, pinky ring, and currently on trial for being sued for sexual assault.
The people in Afghanistan wouldn't have died if he weren't president.
The people in Afghanistan wouldn't have died if he weren't president. Oh, because they would have, but just over time, obviously, because we were going to stay forever.
We have a career criminal in the White House, and we all know it.
Wait a minute, is Trump visiting? Or I didn't realize he was even in D.C.
Do we know it? The whole world knows it.
Yeah, we're all aware of it. You guys know it. I know it. Your mom knows it. Dogs know it.
And he is now hurting the United States of America.
Is he, though? Hold on one second. Now, today, and I, excuse me if I, point of order, Mr. Chairman, you guys do realize that the Fed raised interest rates another quarter point today, which is supposed to fuck everything. It's supposed to ruin the stock market. It's supposed to crash everything. It's supposed to be the end of the end of the end. And I present to you, ladies and gentlemen, Dow rises for 13th straight day, posting its best winning streak since 1987. Joe Biden, you bastard! Why are you destroying America? The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose Wednesday, notching its best winning streak since 1987 as traders digested a Federal Reserve rate hike and major corporate earnings. The Dow average added 82 points, or 0.23%, to 35,520. The 30 stock index extended its rally to 13 days, an advance it hasn't achieved since January of 1987. If the index rises for 14 straight days on Thursday, it will match the longest streak ever going back to June 1897. Damn you, Joe Biden! Why are you wrecking the whole world? Why you do this, Joe Biden? Don't get me started on employment numbers. Unemployment rate has been 4% for the longest stretch in 50 years in American history. Yes, it has. All right, here we go.
Get to do that. Where's the Barry Goldwater?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's buried somewhere. Pretty sure that's where Barry Goldwater is.
Goldwater went to a member of his party, Richard Nixon, and said, please resign for the good of the country.
Yeah, he's a Republican, obviously. Here's an idea. Technically speaking, in this analogy, you would be the Barry Goldwater to Donald Trump and should have asked him to resign before January 6th and would have saved this country a lot of strife. You putz.
The country comes before party. It comes before greed. It comes before power. It becomes.
But he's talking about the Democratic Party, obviously not the Republican Party, because those are the guiding principles. That's their lodestar.
For anything, this man is hurting, dramatically hurting the United States of America.
Oh, the drama. Oh, the drama. Dramatically, look at the stock market just ticking up every day, even though the interest rate's climbing.
He's putting our national security in jeopardy.
Well, I do know for a fact he's not showing or storing classified documents outside of his ability as president anywhere right now. That's, But a search warrant for Bedminster, I would think, would be a good idea.
The countries he did business with are major national security risks. He
didn't do business with any of them. That's at the Nuclear Security Summit, stupid.
How do we know when he gives money to Zelensky? It isn't because Zelensky has a file on him that's that big that amounts to about $20 million in bribes.
Because everybody's been looking for it, and Zelensky would have released it to help Trump if Trump. Here's a better question. What kind of an asshole would Donald Trump have to be to have Zelensky prefer somebody that allegedly he's got leverage over only to the tune of $20 million versus a guy who, withheld arms? Why would... Okay.
It's not speculative with Zelensky. He's got the proof.
No.
Have it too.
Okay. Well, if he's got it, then what the fuck is the leverage? If you have it as well, what is it?
Have the tape recordings of the Ukrainian witnesses. Zelensky has him dead. Meanwhile, so does Mr. Z in China. And
there is no Mr. Z in China. There's a Mr. Xi in China. And if he's got him, quote, dead, then what the fuck was the CHIPS Act about?
One decision that's been favorable to the U.S. and unfavorable to China?
The CHIPS Act, the entire Chips and Science Act, keeping all of Trump's sanctions and adding on top of them, literally denying them technology that would allow them to build AI on a scale that would match our own. Here's a good idea. Name one thing that he's done that's favorable to China at all. That isn't simply a way to bide time until Apple can extract themselves as America's most profitable company.
This man got $31 million from China.
$31 million. That's a new number. I'm very excited about it. It's still chicken shit money.
Got over $17 million from Ukraine, and he caves into them constantly.
Caves into Ukraine? You do realize that Congress and the Senate provide the funding, right? You know, if it was just him, and there were, you know, everybody, like wouldn't you think the rest of the Democrats and Republicans would be all like, what the fuck is this thing with Biden always wanting to help Ukraine, instead of them being all in? It's almost as if Russia attacked them and we're helping.
I don't know. What do we need? Are we stupid?
Well, the two of you, yeah. I mean, yeah, yes, I would argue both of you and she, and Rob even, for leaving the show in her hands and your hands. Yeah, three stupid people. Yeah, you're stupid. And
he should be removed from office. He should have the dignity to resign.
Do you feel vindicated?
Do you feel vindicated? Do you feel vindicated? You know, being sued for sexually assaulting a woman repeatedly. Do you feel and that case going forward?
Vindicated, Mayor Giuliani, because I mean, so many times the left, they use your name to discredit the allegations against Biden's dealings in Ukraine. Remember that? What did they call you when the FBI raided and they were? I mean, it was
a pig, gross, creepy, Giuliani, the COVID farting bandit. How many nicknames do we need for him?
just nonsensical at that point. Do you feel vindicated now that all of this evidence that you have been talking about from day one is now coming out?
Is it though?
I always knew I'd be vindicated. I knew when the...
Boy, if he admits that he's the source of the FD 1023 accidentally, which he's this close to doing.
Most crooked man to run for president of the United States said during the debate in 2020 that Rudy Giuliani was a Russian pawn. That's a...
Well, that's, I mean, obviously, you like to think of yourself as an agent, but you're not. You're a mildly useful idiot.
I didn't take that easily or lightly.
No, you were insulted that you weren't a super spy.
I knew he would choke on those words. And he did, because they had to admit that the hard drive was completely accurate.
No, they didn't. No one has. No one has admitted that. Get the fuck out of here.
Nothing to do with Russia. Now, only a crook and a liar would do something like that.
It's outrageous.
So, I mean, the reality is he is disgracing the great country we love. And you get to do that. And where are the patriotic Americans in Washington that'll walk into that office and say, get the hell out of there? You don't...
Yes. Where are the patriotic Americans that can just storm into the Oval Office and go, beat it, old man. I'm taking over this joint. I think a lot of them are going to jail for attempting that shit on January 6th.
belong in that seat.
Do you think Joe Biden is compromised?
100%.
100%. This whole, like, the way he's, like, fucking with Russia and fucking with China and fucking with Saudi Arabia, it's all just a mask he's wearing. He's wearing it very well, but it's just, trust me, 15, 20 years from now, the stuff that he's doing now will eventually be undone by someone.
I don't think it. I know it.
Well, I think thinking's been out of the question for a long time anyways.
And so do you. And so does everybody that's listening.
No, I'm listening to you and I'm hearing you, and it's gibberish. It's a bunch of shit. I mean, you are beating this dead horse, and I feel at this point I'm starting to feel for the horse.
Just look at his decisions on China.
Okay, I have. And again, if I may, point of order, Mr. Chairman. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, a sea change. Biden reverses decades of Chinese trade policy. Forget tariffs. Biden's actions to crack down on Beijing's tech development will do more to hinder the Chinese economy and divide the two nations than Trump ever did. After decades of U.S. efforts to engage China with the prospect of greater development through trade, the era of cooperation is coming to a screeching halt. The White House and Congress are quietly reshaping the American economic relationship with the world's second largest economic power, enacting a strategy to limit China's technological development that breaks with decades of federal policy and represents the most aggressive American action yet to curtail Beijing's economic and military rise. It's not even fucking close. What is he talking about? Honest to God, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And none of this makes any sense. Like, just standard reality. Biden is the first president we've had, since our position with Russia during the Cold War, to make scientists and tech workers have to choose between working for a foreign company and their citizenship. If you wanted to go to work for some of these Chinese companies that deal with the Chinese military and deal in high-tech stuff from the United States, if you want to keep working there, that's fine. But you have to give up your U.S. citizenship. Guess what everybody did, by the way? On the day that happened, at midnight, they dropped their shit and flew home. Honest to God. And here's the thing. It's not so much, it's hard to say whether or not Giuliani knows any of this shit, or cares to know it, or just avoids it so he can have plausible idiocy. But the weird part is that, are Newsmax viewers that fucking dumb? Does Newsmax keep their viewers intentionally stupid about this stuff? Because you can haggle about the quality of policy and stuff. And like I said, the reason they say deep state and swamp is because bureaucrat isn't sexy enough. But it's the same fucking argument that we've had for 40 years. Unelected bureaucrats are blah, 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 blah. Look, they have to, Newsmax, I'm calling you out. This isn't even about Giuliani and Rob shit anymore. This is about you guys intentionally dumbing down your audience. That they don't even fucking know what their country is doing in dealing with China and China's military and China's theft of tech, and intellectual property. They don't. All right.
Has he said no to Zelensky?
No, but then neither has most of Europe and most of our Congress. 89%. Is Zelensky the single greatest blackmailer in the world? Or let me run this by you. Ever since Biden came into office, the biggest sea change between the United States and China has been that Mexico and then Canada, right behind them, have become our biggest trading partners. Now, Republicans could take this as a moment to celebrate the USMCA or the modification of NAFTA and go, holy shit, we're reversing course. We're bringing these factories and stuff closer to home and shortening our supply chains and being in relationships with countries that, quite frankly, we have a much closer relationship to in terms of how our government works and how their government works than we would with, say, the CCP. Instead of championing that and saying, well, it's only because of Trump's USMCA or any of that stuff, they've just ignored it entirely. And so everybody on the right-wing side that's calling for the shutdown of the southern border is effectively acting, whether they know it or not, whether they're intentional or they're just useful idiots, are acting as agents of the CCP and Chinese business, because the one thing that would give China a toehold to regain some of its supply chain issues and get more consumption, and more exports going out would be if we slowed imports and shipments coming in from Mexico. If we just sealed the border. So anybody calling for sealing the border, shutting it down, is effectively working for all the other countries that most of their stuff comes in through the shipping ports, and they want to end that.
Has he ever put a inspector general in charge of the money going to Zelensky? Every time Congress asks, he refuses.
Well, I think they have to actually pay for one.
There was an article in the newspaper yesterday.
The newspaper? Oh my God. And look at me. I forgot to pick up the newspaper. Does anybody have one lying around? Which I can't wait to find out what he considers the newspaper. Is it the Weekly World News?
Ukraine doesn't have enough money for arms. Headline, Wall Street Journal. The lazy, crooked press doesn't ask, well, what happened to the money we gave them?
They're using it. Killing Russians, stupid. They're outnumbered like 40-1, and they're kicking ass. Of course they're running out of rounds. Russia won't stop. Russia has lost 250,000 men in this war. 250,000 dead on the Russian side. You think that's even possible? If they're like, okay, for one, if the Ukrainians are winning this war and shuffling off half of the arms that we're giving them, they're selling it on the black market to whomever. They haven't shown who. And every piece of footage I've seen, like, this stuff's ending up in Africa and Syria, blah, blah, blah. Like, well, then why is everybody walking around with AK-47s, you prick? But if Ukraine is kicking that much ass and selling off half the gear, I'd let them win just because they're badasses. They're dangerous. Do they really think this? Do they really think that Ukraine is doing this well against that large a force? And they're giving away the gear? Why didn't they think this about Afghanistan during Trump's years? Trump just upped the number every year. I rebuilt our entire military and sent all the new shit to Afghanistan, apparently.
Well, we don't know because we haven't monitored it on purpose.
Right, because some people will leak it, like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
How can we trust any dealings he has with Zelensky?
Because they're winning.
Zelensky was the creature of probably the second most crooked man in Ukraine, Kolomoisky. He's the creature of the most crooked, Zlochevsky.
Right.
All the money that was laundered that went to Joe Biden went through.
Wait, Zelensky's not in office because of Zlochevsky.
Zelensky's mentor's hands. It's like this.
Wow.
It's like this? Isn't it supposed to be like this? Or quite frankly, like this?
Giuliani, we're going to have to leave it right there.
Yeah, Mary Giuliani, once you touch your fingers together, our audience starts to throw up in their mouth. So we're going to have to go to commercial right now just so people can breathe into a bag.
Thank you so much.
You can't represent us fairly and impartially.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And why is there a baby running around in the background?
For your wisdom, your insight, and...
Your wisdom, your insight, your disgusting hand gestures, that weird thing where you slipped your hand down the front of your pants in front of a girl you thought was 15 years old and it was just like nothing. Like fucking nothing.
Thank you for being such a great American. Thank you.
Thank you for being a great American.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm a great American. That's why I was engaged in the exact deal I'm accusing Hunter Biden of being involved in Ukraine. Let's be abundantly clear. Rudy Giuliani and his buddies running over trying to do gas deals and energy deals, and security deals in Ukraine on behalf of the Russians, basically undermining any kind of stabilizing governmental force that was happening there, because that's, that the money is made in chaos and in oligarchical systems. It's not made in fairness. Once you have to trade fairly with other fucking people, it's a pain in the ass, and the profits go down precipitously, and he knows this. So getting in there on Russia's benefit and undermining any kind of, anti-corruption movements that's going on in Ukraine and stuff is exactly how Rudy Giuliani has made his money post 9/11. And we know now from that FD 1023 that effectively Rudy and his buddies were over there trying to secure the deal that Hunter Biden had basically set up for Zlochevsky and Burisma, like, buy this American company, you'll be under American law, but at least that'll take away a lot of people's worries about you being corrupt, and that'll do it. And he was like, yeah, I'll do that. I'm not doing that. And then he's bitching to Rudy and his buddies that this Hunter Biden's nuts. This guy wants me to, like, play by the rules. Are you crazy? So, yeah, she's not going to ask Rudy Giuliani about the lawsuit